All right, we are back with a new video, and I guess continuing with this Brantsteele series, I decided today to do Survivor Africa. So we have the cast here, Baran and Samburu, and let's not waste any more time. Let's just jump right into the game. All right. All right, so on Baran, there are no alliances. We see Lex and Clarence don't like each other. Jesse Camacho and Clarence kind of like each other. Ethan likes Lex, kind of like in the real life scenario. But different from the real life scenario is Big Tom and Lex don't like each other. But Lex and Ethan like each other. Uh, Big Tom and Tyann don't like each other. Tom and Ethan like each other. All right, so good on Ethan so far. Um, Big Tom and Kelly all like each other a bit. Tom kind of likes Clarence, and Kelly and Clarence don't really like each other. So it seems so far that we were seeing a lot of bonds from Big Tom and Ethan to a degree. So there's that. Over on Samburu, no alliances yet. Silas doesn't really like Carl, makes sense. Linda doesn't like Brandon, also kind of makes sense. Silas and Linda do like each other, though. That's interesting. Lindsay and Frank like each other a bit. Carl doesn't like Silas, makes sense, as Silas doesn't like Carl. Linda and Carl kind of like each other. Silas and Kim Powers kind of like each other. Kim Powers doesn't like Brandon. Brandon doesn't like Linda. And Linda kind of likes Frank. Okay. And with all that, we get to our first immunity challenge. And like the real life scenario, Samburu wins. They win 50 waterproof matches. That'll be useful in the hot Serengeti. So, back at Baran, Jesse has a major meltdown. I wonder why. Kim Johnson is targeting Jesse for being weak. Interesting coming from Kim Johnson, as obviously she had a bit of a perception issue early on as well. Lex considers Clarence a challenge liability. Diane considers Big Tom a challenge liability. Clarence considers Diane a challenge liability. And Jesse considers Ethan somewhat weak. Alright, so we're getting some interesting stuff going on over here. I mean, obviously, people are kind of targeting each other, but it seems like the two targets will be either Clarence or Big Tom. Over on Samburu, Lindsay and Silas bond slightly. Okay. And with that, we get the tribal council. Um, I don't know. I mean, I could see Clarence getting voted out here. I think he was one of the targets. But let's get to the vote. So, first vote Clarence. Big Tom. Clarence. Two votes, Clarence. Big Tom, we're tied again. Big Tom, 3-2. Clarence, we're tied again. Clarence, 4-3. Are we going to get a tie? Nope. First person voted out is Clarence. So it's like I said, 5-3. Let's see the votes. So looks like Big Tom got the votes of Clarence, Diane, and Jesse. Makes sense. While everyone else, Ethan, Kelly Goldsmith, Kim Johnson, Lex, and Big Tom voted for Clarence. Interesting. So, yeah, so Clarence in real life was considered as a first boot with being good and everything. So it's interesting to see that he goes out here. Diane isn't even on the table as his first tribal, so that's a bit of a difference. So yeah, that was episode 1. All right. So Kim Johnson and Jesse don't like each other. Big Tom and Jesse like each other. Jesse and Diane kind of like each other. Kim Johnson and Diane kind of like each other. All right, we're getting a bit more from Jesse and Diane about their relationships. Looks like the Lex and Ethan relationship is getting a bit stronger. Ethan and Diane don't like each other. Neither does Big Tom. Big Tom and Ethan like each other. Yep, Tom and Kelly like each other, and Kelly and Diane don't like each other. So it looks like Diane is kind of getting on people's nerves. Like, aside from Kim Johnson and Jesse, it seems like the core of the tribe here doesn't seem to like her that much. So that's something. Over on Samburu, Silas likes Lindsay. They like each other. Silas and Linda kind of like each other. But T Bird and Lindsay don't like each other. That's interesting. Silas and Kim Powers like each other. Um, T Bird kind of likes Carl. Lindsay and Frank kind of like each other. Silas kind of likes Frank, so that's a bit interesting. And T Bird doesn't like Brandon. All right. So we get to our immunity reward challenge, I should say. Samburu wins blankets, canned food, and other supplies. And this is the one where they're building a staircase. I think Samburu also won this in the real life show. I'm pretty sure. I mean, I don't remember exactly, but I think they won. Yeah, and I think Kim Johnson was talking about how she was a reason for that. I believe that was this challenge right here. Okay. But it doesn't matter because the immunity challenge, what really matters more, is Baran wins immunity. This is the gross food eating challenge where they had to drink cow's blood. But good for them. They had a bounce back round. So hopefully they'll even up the numbers now, 7-7. So over at Baran, we see Kelly and Kim Johnson getting closer together. Kim Johnson's also building a bond with Lex. So it looks like Kim Johnson's doing some good work here. And through this, we get our first alliance of the season. We have Diane, Kelly Goldsmith, Kim Johnson, and Lex. And Kelly is so excited by this that she works extra hard at camp and becomes tired as a result. But that's interesting. We get this alliance here. Um, yeah, Diane's inclusion is a bit weird as she was the first boot on the actual show, but it's good that she's doing some stuff here, and good on Kim Johnson too for doing some work as well to get into this alliance. But the real action is over at Samburu, where Lindsay and Teresa have a bit of a disagreement. Um, Brandon and Kim Powers, they've been really building a bond together. But it's before long that we have Kim Powers has a meltdown. I wonder what happened there. Like, was it something Brandon said? I don't know. But anyway, we get our first alliance on Samburu, where we have Frank, Linda, Lindsay, and Silas. That's an interesting grouping of people. And we get to our targets, where T-Bird's targeting Lindsay, Carl's targeting Brandon, Silas is targeting Carl, and the Alliance is targeting Brandon. Alright, so that's not good. So it's them, Carl. Alright, so it looks like it'll either come down to Brandon, Lindsay, or Carl at this next tribal. Alright, it is time to vote. I mean, I would think Brandon gets voted out here, as we saw that Alliance really wants to target Brandon, plus Carl wants to target him too. But let's see what happens. So, votes are cast. First vote, Brandon. Lindsay, 1 vote each. Brandon, 2-1. Brandon, 3-1. Lindsay, 3-2. Brandon, 4-2. Just one more. Lindsay, 4-3. All right, I think it should be Brandon, though. And the second person voted out is Brandon. All right, let's look at the votes here. Yeah, as you can see, yeah, pretty much everyone voted how I expected them to. I mean, Carl voted for Brandon. We had the alliance of Frank, Linda, Lindsay, and Silas voting together, but then T-Bird, Kim Powers are kind of on the outs there. So it's interesting. We'll see how T-Bird and Kim Powers recover from this. All right, moving on to the next round, we have Baran and Samburu. All right. Yep, we still have this alliance going strong. We have Kim Johnson and Kelly bonding. Uh, Kim Powers, Kim Johnson's bonding with Kelly, Lex. She doesn't like Jesse though, but she's not in the alliance, so that doesn't really matter too much. Diane doesn't like Kelly. Interesting. Interesting, but they're in the alliance together. So I guess Diane is just biding her time. Well, Kim Johnson does like Diane, so that's something. Um, yeah, I mean, it seems like aside from that, the rest of this grouping seems to be similar relationship wise. Quite interesting how Big Tom and Ethan are kind of out of this power structure right now, but who knows? Maybe they'll cause something. Over here on Samburu, we had the Ad Alliance together. Yeah, I mean, things largely check out from before. I mean, again, we have Kim Powers and T-Bird kind of on the outs there. Oh, they're interesting. So Carl isn't in the alliance, and Silas doesn't really like him. I mean, it makes sense based on the real life scenario. I mean, they did vote. I mean, but here they did vote together, so it makes me wonder if that was just Carl just not liking Brandon that much. It would make sense though. Well, we get to the reward challenge where Baran wins reward. They win fresh drinking water and organic shampoo. Yes, this is like the real life scenario because I know Baran won that big tank of water. You know, like, and obviously afterwards there was that whole scene of them trying to figure out what to do with it, like whether they should use it for shower or they should save it all for water, for drinking water, that I should say. So it makes sense why they would win here. But the all important immunity challenge goes to Baran. So good for them. They won another immunity challenge. This is their third challenge win in a row. And Samburu will be going back to tribal. So over on Baran, we see Ethan and Jesse forming a bit of a bond. Kim Johnson and Lex are having a minor disagreement. But ultimately, it's Diane that leads the alliance. I mean, that makes sense. I mean, we saw Diane and Kelly not really liking each other, so it makes sense why she would leave. Although I'm not sure what other option she has. I mean, she'll really have to build bonds with people outside the alliance. Maybe that's Ethan and Baton's way in. We'll have to wait and see. But over on Samburu, Carl has a major meltdown. He probably feels betrayed to a certain extent. And in other news, Lindsay leaves the alliance. All right, so already we're having a bit of dynamic gameplay here with people leaving alliances not long after joining them, and then Frank works hard at camp and becomes tired. Good. Okay, so Silas and Carl are targeting each other for being challenge liabilities. Okay. But Silas has allies and he is targeting Carl as well. Also interesting. So it's either going to be Kim Powers or Carl. I mean, it makes sense. I mean, Kim Powers is kind of on the outs, but like we didn't really see that above. But this will be interesting. This will be an interesting tribal. All right. Now we're getting to the vote. I'm going to assume Carl gets voted out here. I mean, possibly in a plurality vote, but we'll see. I mean, there is possibility for a Silas blindside here if the minority is able to get their act together. But let's get to the vote. First vote, Carl. Carl, 2 votes, Carl. 3 votes, Carl. Kim Powers, 3-1. And the third, yep, it's Carl. He was voted out unanimously. Okay. Yep. Okay. All right. So now we're at Baran and Samburu, 7-6. So over on Baran, we have this alliance still together. Kim Johnson and Kelly, though, have a very unbreakable bond at this point. Jesse and Ethan are getting a bit closer together, but Kim Johnson has her eye on Jesse. Doesn't really like her that much. Kelly and Diane still don't like each other. Interesting. So, well, maybe it wasn't the best idea for Diane to lead the alliance. I mean, while Jesse does like her, we see Ethan doesn't really like her. Okay. Okay. Over on Samburu, we still have this alliance going on. I'm surprised Lindsay hasn't been brought into the alliance yet. But we see Silas likes her, but T-Bird doesn't. Kim Powers kind of like Silas, but Silas doesn't like Kim Powers, so it's kind of a one-sided thing going on here. Um, Aside from that, nothing too crazy here. Let's get to the reward challenge where Samburu wins food items using the challenge. Alright, so good for them. They finally had a bounce back. Granted, it's just a reward challenge. How did they do in the all-important immunity challenge, though? They win immunity, so good for them. They're able to tie up the numbers going into the swap, although they don't know that yet. Well, let's see what happens on Baran, where Ethan and Kim Johnson have a minor disagreement. And we finally have a second alliance forming with Ethan, Jesse, and Big Tom. I had a feeling that was coming based on their relationships, so it makes sense. Sort of a counter alliance forming here should be interesting. Kelly works hard at camp and becomes tired. Okay. So, Diane and Ethan are targeting each other. Kim Johnson and Jesse are targeting each other. But who are the alliances targeting? Alright, so Kelly's alliance is targeting Jesse. So it looks like Kim Johnson's kind of getting her way. And the second alliance, Jesse's alliance, is targeting Diane. Okay. Yeah, okay, that makes sense. All right, time to get to the vote. But first, we had to get to Samburu, where Frankly's the alliance for some reason. Okay. We'll see how that shakes out later on. But getting to the vote, it could go either way. I think Diane's probably the most likely to be voted out, even though I don't think that's necessarily the best decision for Ethan to be making right now. But it's what he's doing, so we'll just count the votes here. First vote, Jesse. Diane, 1 each. Diane, 2-1. Jesse, tied again. Jesse, 3-2. Are we going to get a 4-3 situation? Yes, we will. It's 3-3. 1 vote left. And the fourth person voted out of Survivor Africa is Jesse. Wow. All right, so let's see how the votes turned out here. So, looks like Diane, Kelly, Kim, and Lex vote together. Actually, I should have seen that coming. They probably had more of the numbers anyway. Meanwhile, there's Ethan, Big Tom, and Diane, Jesse. Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, the fact that they targeted Diane was probably a mistake anyway, and probably a big reason why Diane stuck with the things. I probably should have seen that coming, but it makes sense. Again, probably a big mistake, and probably will bite Ethan and Tom in the butt later. But what they don't know is we're getting into episode 5 now. The tribes are divided 3-3 on each. 6-6 overall. But what they don't know, each tribe is asked to pick 3 representatives. Ethan, Lex, and Tom are chosen for Baran. Okay, that's probably good for Ethan and Tom, even if they don't know it yet. Lex, though, well, could we be seeing the new alliance forming? That we saw in the actual show with those 3, potentially. And then Linda, Silas, and T-Bird are going for Samburu. Yep, and in each group of 3 people, we'll actually be switching tribes. Okay. So with that, let's look at these new tribes. So in the new Baran, we have Diane, Kelly, Kim Johnson, Linda, Silas, and T-Bird. And over on the new Samburu is Ethan, Frank, Kim Powers, Lex, Lindsay, and Big Tom. Like I said, I think this worked out well for Ethan and Big Tom. Not sure how well it works out for Frank yet. Kim Johnson. Kim Johnson seems to be in an okay spot for the time being. I would be a little bit worried about Lex. Unless he's able to rekindle things with Ethan and Big Tom, but let's see what happens. So in the new Baran, we still have Kelly Goldsmith and Kim Johnson there, and we have Linda and Silas. So right at the bat, we still have this, we still have that. Oh, that's probably not the best situation for her to be in, actually. For Kelly to not like Diane. Unless Kim Johnson can rope the mech in, that's a possibility. Teresa, yeah, looks like the. Okay, so it looks like the Samburus are sticking together, kind of. Like there seems to be some dislike there. Would be interested to see how Diane votes, though. I mean, she could potentially flip. I mean, to the Samburu side of things. I don't know. I mean, it'll be interesting to see. And over on the new Samburu, Lex is kind of on his own now. We have Big Tom and Ethan in an alliance. Big Tom doesn't like Kim Powers. Lindsay and Frank like each other. Big Tom likes Lindsay, though. Frank and Ethan kind of like each other. Okay, makes sense. Big Tom still doesn't like Lex, though. So, alright, so that's probably a bad sign for Lex then. But Lex likes Ethan, so kind of all over the place right now. I mean, with the way these tribes are shaking up. But Big Tom doesn't like Ethan. That's interesting. Alright, so it's a bit jumbled right now. Reward challenge, we have Samburu winning. They win 3 egg-laying chickens and a rooster. Okay, but let's see how the immunity shakes out. Baran wins immunity. Kind of what I was hoping for. I feel like we're gonna see some more interesting stuff happen on Samburu at that tribal. But first, let's check in on Baran, where we have a new alliance form. So it looks like Kelly Goldsmith and Kim Johnson were able to rope in Silas to form a new alliance there. Okay. Over on Samburu, Frank and Tom bond strongly. Yeah, I can see that. I mean, they seem to be of a similar background to a certain degree, so I could see why they would get together. Kim Powers and Lindsay like each other. Frank and Kim Powers like each other. Okay, so this is probably good for Frank then. Lex is targeting big Kim Powers. Tom is targeting Lex. Kim Powers is targeting Tom for some reason. I wonder if Frank will be able to convince her otherwise. Or if Kim Powers is just worried that that Big Tom would ruin her positioning with Frank. That's another possibility. Ethan is targeting Frank. Okay. Ethan and Tom are now targeting Lex. Interesting stuff. So we have Lex and Frank as the main targets going into this tribal. Alright, I think Lex is probably going home here, but let's just see what happens. So first vote is Lex. I already see it up there. Frank, 1 vote each. Frank, 2-1. Lex, 2-2. Frank, 3-2. Alright, are we getting a tie here? It is Lex. Alright. So we have a tie here. Now, obviously, in Africa, previous votes is a factor for the tiebreakers in this early season. I don't know if they have votes against each other. I think Lex might have some. I'm trying to remember off the top of my head, but we'll see what happens. All right, there's a revote first. All right, so first vote Lex. Lex. Yep, Lex. All right, so that was interesting. So Ethan voted for Lex both times. Frank, of course, voted for Lex. Kim Powers, though, that's interesting. So she voted for Frank first, but then voted for Lex on the revote. She voted based on personal preference. That's interesting. Yeah, she flipped to avoid a deadlock. Okay. Yep. And then Lindsay also flipped her vote to avoid a deadlock. Okay, I mean that makes sense. I mean, interesting change of history right there. Well, let's move on to episode 6. So, here are the tribes. We still have Kelly and Kim together. We have Linda and Silas together. Silas, in turn, is bonding with Kim. Along with them, he's in their alliance. That's probably good for Silas. Probably good positioning wise for him. Kim Johnson and Kelly like each other. Yep, good for Kim. I mean, good for Kelly. I mean, she's bonding with T Bird. I mean, T Bird's also bonding with Linda. Yeah, I mean, this makes sense. I feel like Silas doesn't like T Bird though. T Bird doesn't like Silas. All right. Over on Samburu, we have Ethan and Tom as kind of a power duo at this point, but Frank is still bonding well with Tom. So interesting. So Frank really likes Tom, but Tom likes Frank, but not like a whole lot. Kim Powers and Frank have a slight bond towards each other, which is interesting since she did just vote for him at the last tribal. Okay. Mm-hmm. All right. So Samburu wins reward. They win a full buffet of food. But what I care about more is the immunity challenge, and the winner of that is Baran. So Baran once again wins immunity, sending Samburu back to tribal. T-Bird has a major meltdown on Baran, and Kim Johnson and Linda find something in common. Frank rests at camp. Uh, Kim Powers is targeting Lindsay, okay, and Lindsay is targeting Big Tom. Big Tom is targeting Kim Powers. But Ethan and Big Tom are both targeting Lindsay, alright? So it looks like Lindsay and Big Tom will be the targets going into this tribal. Alright, let's just get to the vote. I'm assuming Lindsay gets voted out here, but I wouldn't be surprised if. No, I mean, yeah, Lindsay will probably get voted out of here. Let's just see what happens. So, first vote, Big Tom, I can already see it. Lindsay, one vote each. Lindsay, 2-1. Yep, so Lindsay was voted out unanimously. Makes sense. Yep, 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 yep. Okay. Yes, and I believe with that we now get to the merge. Yep, I see merge right there. Here are our tribes going to the merge. So the swapped Baron will go in with a 6-4 numbers advantage. But but original tribes, it's tied with 5 original Barons versus 5 original Samburus. It'll be interesting to see what tribe dynamics factor into this merge here. So with that, we get to the merge. Yep. And let's see what the mingling is. So we know Kelly and Kim Johnson are a great, powerful couple in the game. We have Linda and Silas together. Ethan and Tom, that's another duo right there. Obviously, Kelly and Kim Johnson have their relationship with Silas here. So right out the bat, I mean, we have our typical relationships here with Kim Johnson and Kelly, Tom and Frank. Kim Johnson and Diane kind of like each other now. Frank and Ethan like each other. Linda and Kim Johnson kind of like each other. Kim Powers and Frank like each other. Kelly and Diane don't like each other. T Bird and Diane don't like each other. Kim Johnson and Ethan don't like each other, which is interesting. I could have sworn they liked each other earlier in the game, but I guess things have changed. And Silas and Kim Powers don't like each other. All right. Getting to our immunity challenge, it's the When It Rains It Pours challenge, and as we can see, Big Tom has won his first immunity. So good on him. I mean, I wasn't expecting him to win this one, but he pulled it off somehow. So with that, we get back to camp where we see Frank is impressing the rest of the team. Silas, though, leaves the alliance. I wonder what will happen there. We see a new alliance forming with Diane, Frank, Kelly, Kim Johnson, Linda, and Big Tom. But let's see who they're targeting. So, Kim Johnson doesn't like T Bird, so she's targeting her. T Bird doesn't like Diane, so they're targeting each other. Okay. Oh, wow. And Linda and Silas are also targeting T Bird here. And so is Ethan and Big Tom. And so is this six-person alliance that wants to target Big Tom. So, as you can see here, we have Silas, T-Bird, and Kim Powers as the targets going into this vote. But it seems like most of the voting blocks here are gunning for T-Bird, which makes me think that T-Bird will probably be voted out here. So, here we go. Final 10. Tom has the immunity necklace. Time to cast your votes. First vote, T-Bird. Silas, 1 vote each. T-Bird, 2-1. T-Bird, 3-1. T-Bird, 4-1. T-Bird, 5-1. Yep. So T-Bird was voted out unanimously. Nothing too surprising there. Yep. All right, let's get to the final 9 round. We're now at the jury phase of the game. We have our usual alliances here. Nothing too fancy. Tom and Frank have gotten even closer to each other at this point. Yep, nothing too surprising here. We get to our reward challenge where Silas wins reward, and this is the village challenge that Ethan was famous for in the actual show. Silas will get to go offer 2 goats to an African village in exchange for whatever the winner wants. I can only imagine how that went, knowing Silas. But he decides to go with Linda, so that's something at least. Going on to our immunity challenge, though, Silas also wins immunity, and it was a memory immunity as well, so good on him. Back at camp, we see Ethan and Kim Powers bonding a bit, but Kim Johnson doesn't like that, and he wants to target Ethan. Silas doesn't like Big Tom, he's targeting him. Ethan doesn't like Kelly, so he's targeting her. Big Tom doesn't like Kim Powers that much, so he's targeting her. Ethan has become the main target, probably because Ethan was targeting Kelly. So that's probably not the best indicator there. Over on the other side, we see Linda and Silas targeting Ethan. Kim Powers is their main target for Ethan and Big Tom. And we see the Big Alliance is targeting Ethan as well. So it's coming down to Ethan and Kim Powers, but at the end of the day, I feel like Ethan might get voted out. Now, it'll be interesting to see how Tom votes in this situation. I mean, obviously, he doesn't have the same unbreakable bond that he does with Frank, but we'll see. So, Silas has the immunity necklace. Votes are cast. First vote is for Kim Powers. Okay. Ethan, 1 vote each. Ethan, 2-1. Ethan, 3-1. Ethan, 4-1. And Ethan is now the first member of the jury. I'll admit Ethan has made it further in this Brantsteele than any of the previous winners from the actual show, but he's still voted out with a decent amount of the game left, and looking at the vote, he was voted out unanimously. Nothing too surprising there. So interesting. So this big alliance seems to be dictating a lot that's happening right now. Will there be a flip at some point? We'll have to see. So with that, we get to the final 8. You see our usual relationships. Here, nothing too special or different. We get to our reward challenge where we have pairs. So we can see here we have the different pairings. But what matters most is Group 3 wins reward, which is Frank and Kim Johnson. They win a movie night out with an all you can eat feast. As you know, Frank won this award in the real life scenario, but obviously brought Frank along. Oh, wait. No. I read that wrong. So, wait. Oh, yeah, it was Frank and Kim. So, yeah, I wonder how that went. I mean, they probably had a bit of a more natural conversation, probably. They're both a bit older, probably were able to talk as such, although Frank probably still was probably kind of awkward, so there's that. But we get to the immunity challenge where Kim Johnson wins reward immunity. So this is the fire making challenge, and Kim Johnson wins it. So that's something. Back at camp, Kelly and Linda find something in common. Kim Johnson and Tom have a bit of a disagreement. Kim Johnson and Kim Powers have a bit of a disagreement as well. And we finally see a new alliance form with Frank and Big Tom. I mean, obviously, they've been bonding together well for a while, but it was only a matter of time before an alliance formed there. But let's get to the targets. Silas is targeting Kim Powers. Kim Powers is targeting Big Tom. Tom is targeting Silas. Kelly and Kim are targeting Kim Powers. Linda and Silas are targeting Kim Powers. But the Alliance is targeting Silas for some reason. Interesting stuff. They're probably worried about Tom breaking away from the group, so that probably explains that. And then Frank and Big Tom are targeting Silas. So it's interesting. So I feel like the group is going for Silas, but there are rumblings of people wanting to target Kim Powers. But I feel like Silas will probably be voted out here. So let's get to the vote. Kim has the immunity necklace. Yep. Time to vote. First vote, Kim Powers. Silas 1-1. Kim Powers 2-1. Silas 2-2. Kim Powers 3-2. Silas 3-3. Kim Powers 4-3. We have a tie, folks, with 4-4. It seemed like those rumblings did account for something, as we see a tie result here. But let's get to the revote. Kim, Silas 1-1. Kim 2-1. Kim 3-1. And Kim Powers has been voted out. So let's see the votes here. So as you can see, Diane flipped her vote from Silas to Kim Powers on the revote to avoid a deadlock. Okay, who else flipped? Obviously, Kelly and Kim voted for Kim Powers all along. Obviously, they didn't really like each other. Oh, Big Tom also flipped. So he was hoping to avoid deadlock. So it looks like Kelly and Kim Johnson have really been running this game so far. I mean, obviously they got their way here with voting out Kim Powers. Interesting to see if Silas remains as big of a target as he is moving forward. So we're now at the final 7. We have our usual relationships. Yep, nothing too out of the ordinary there. We're now at the auction where Big Tom wins a coffee with sugar and a chocolate croissant. Diane wins cheese and crackers. Frank wins a cold beer. Makes sense. Big Tom wins the sundae with chocolate syrup. Linda wins a mug of chocolate syrup. Diane wins the covered eye. She wins the fried chicken, mashed potatoes, gravy, and vegetables. Good for her. Kelly wins meatball marinara hoagie. Kelly wins pancakes with butter, scrambled eggs, and bacon. Now, I don't know if Kelly's Jewish or not, but if she were, I mean, will we get that same moment with Big Tom? Who knows? Who knows with any of this? But let's get to the all important immunity challenge, and the winner of that is Kelly Goldsmith. Man, I feel like there's always like a trend with like people winning reward challenges and then immediately winning immunity. I mean, granted, auction's a little different, but even so, she won the last item there. But Kelly wins immunity. Okay. But despite winning immunity, she has a major meltdown back at camp. I mean, I guess the pressure of competing in the folklore challenge really got to her head. Linda leaves the alliance. I'm not sure why. Kelly is targeting Silas. Linda doesn't really like Tom, so that could explain why. Tom is targeting Linda. There must have been a feud there. Kelly and Kim are targeting Silas. Linda and Silas are targeting Big Tom. This five-person alliance is still targeting Silas. Okay, so the question is whether Big Tom can keep it in with Linda and really stave it off for another round. But Frank and Tom are targeting Silas, so that'll probably reel him in a bit. So it looks like Tom and Silas are the targets here, and I feel like Silas will probably be voted out here. But anyway, we get to Tribal Council, where Kelly has the immunity necklace. Time to vote. First vote, Silas. Tom, 1 vote each. Silas, 2-1. Silas, 3-1. Big Tom, 3-2. But it doesn't really matter. Silas is voted out 5-2. The only person voting with Silas is Linda. Yep, that makes sense. So yeah, that was a pretty straightforward vote. We're now at the final 6. Okay. So at the final 6, we still have this grouping of people. Looks like Linda's kind of on the outs at this point. She seems like she'll probably be the next to go unless something were to happen. We have our usual relationships at this point. Frank wins reward. They win a resort in the Mosaic Mara along with a safari, chance to sleep in bed, and a feast. And he goes on the reward with Tom. Makes sense. We'll probably get a very similar outcome to the real life scenario where Big Tom probably gets drunk. Frank might get drunk too with him and probably have a good time there. But then in immunity, Frank wins. So once again, we have another trend of whoever wins the reward challenge would also win the immunity challenge. Interesting. Back at camp, we see Kelly finally leaving the alliance. Interesting. Diane is targeting Kelly. Kelly's targeting Diane. So it looks like this alliance is starting to turn on each other a bit. We have Linda targeting Tom. Kim Johnson's targeting Linda. This is a whole mess going on here. Tom's being targeted. Kelly's being targeted by this alliance. What a mess. So yeah, Big Tom and Kelly are the targets, but I think Kelly will probably be voted out. Seems like this power structure that Kim Johnson has worked so hard to cultivate is kind of crumbling at this point. But let's see the vote. So first vote, Kelly Goldsmith. Kelly Goldsmith. Big Tom. Big Tom, we're tied. Kelly Goldsmith. And we have a tie. Wow. Alright, time for the revote. First vote, Kelly Goldsmith. Big Tom, Kelly Goldsmith. Big Tom, we are deadlocked. So, Big Tom would probably go home if it's previous votes, I would think. Yep, Yep. So Big Tom has the previous votes. He has 6 past votes. Kelly Goldsmith had no votes before, and therefore Tom has been eliminated. Makes sense. So we can see here, no one really budged. So we see Diane, Frank, uh, and Big Tom vote for Kelly, while Linda, Kim Johnson, and Kelly voted for Big Tom. Kim Johnson really caught a break here with Kelly surviving this vote to the previous votes. And that's interesting. So with that, we move on to the. No, this isn't the finale. It's the final 5. So we have our usual stuff here. We see Kim Johnson is a pretty strong position. Without Big Tom, Frank is really latched on to Diane at this point. Yeah. But also Diane is latched on to Kim Johnson, so that's interesting. But the real rivalry is between Kelly and Diane. Yep. So we get to our reward challenge where Frank wins the car. Probably a bad sign for him. But he also wins immunity. So that's now his second immunity in a row. And it's the second chance challenge, so that's something. Back at camp, we see the Diane and Kelly feud really coming to a head. Kim Johnson's targeting Linda for some reason, and it seems like that's going to be the targets going into this vote. All right, so Linda and Kelly are the targets here. I feel like Linda probably goes home, so let's count the votes. So first vote is Linda. Diane 1-1. Linda 2-1. Diane 2-2. And the 12th person voted out of Survivor Africa, and the 5th member of our jury, Linda. Yep, makes sense. Interesting. So it was actually supposed to be a unanimous vote here, but Kelly decided to vote for Diane for whatever reason. It was just too big of a hatred there. And also, Linda was supposed to vote for Kelly. So if everyone voted the way they were supposed to, I guess that means yeah, it would have been unanimous, I think. Okay, so now we get to our finale where we're down to our final four. We have Diane, the first boot of the season. We have Frank, the last remaining Samburu. Kelly Goldsmith, who in the real life scenario was the first juror, I believe. Yeah, that sounds right. And we have Kim Johnson, who was the runner up. Alright, I could see this coming together. We have our usual stuff here. I can imagine Frank would need to win out at this point. I mean, he could, but it's not a guarantee. And he wins the third immunity in a row, securing his place in the final three. Interesting. But now we have our votes coming together. Kelly and Kim are probably going to target Diane. But Kelly is a target of Diane, Frank, and Kim Johnson. So I guess it all comes down to Kim Johnson then, like whether she decides to vote out Kelly or create like a fire situation. It could go either way. I mean, I could see Kim Johnson wanting to keep Kelly around, as it seems like Kelly has more enemies and probably would be easier to be in a jury vote. But on the other hand, it wouldn't be guaranteed if we went to fire here. But let's see. So, first vote, Diane. Diane, Kelly, Kelly. So we have a tie. So it looks like Kim Johnson did vote to save her friend here. And on the revote, we have Diane, Kelly. All right. So what happens here? Are we going to rocks? Are we going to like previous votes here? Okay, so with previous votes, I think Kelly would go home here. Kelly has 3 past votes. Diane has, oh wow, I did not realize that. Diane had 5 previous votes. So Diane gets voted out here. Interesting. Interesting. So now we are at the final three with Kelly, Frank, and Kim Johnson. I feel like this is Kim Johnson's game to lose at this point. I mean, it would make sense. But we'll get to our final immunity challenge. Yep. So I feel like Kim Johnson probably has this game won at this point, I would think. Frank wins final immunity. He'll probably take Kim Johnson. Okay. And indeed, Kelly is voted out. And with that, we get a final two of Frank versus Kim Johnson. Obviously, Kim Johnson was here in the real life scenario, and I feel like she did play the better game here. I feel like she probably should win a jury vote here. However, Frank won 4 immunities in a row, to where I think he has a shot at least. So let's see. We'll see. We'll see what happens. So, first vote, Kim Johnson. Frank, 1 vote each. Frank, 2-1. Frank, 3-1. Kim Johnson, 3-2. And the winner of Survivor Africa is Frank, obviously the winner everyone wanted. So let's take a look at the votes here. I mean, Frank got the votes of Diane, Ethan, Kim Powers, Silas, and Tom, while Kim Johnson got the votes of Linda and Kelly Goldsmith. I feel like that again. Kim Johnson gets to the end again, kind of like in the real life show, and she loses by the same margin in the jury. Granted, I feel like it's a different situation. I feel like Kim probably played the better game, but Frank probably had more allies. Lex wins the fan favorite award for some reason. Frank's a winner. Now let's take a look at these stats here. Yep, so here's our placements. So let's see. So Frank won 4 immunities, and then everyone else won 1 with Kelly Goldsmith, Kim Johnson, Silas, and Big Tom. Interesting. So Linda was the most strategic of the season. Oh wow, Frank was more strategic. I did not realize that. I mean, Kim was probably better positioned throughout the game, and I felt like she was playing relatively well strategically, but I guess not. And then Diane was third. hmm Kim never got a single vote against her the entire game, which I think is kind of interesting. So yeah, I mean, this is pretty interesting how the season turned out. I feel like there are definitely some similarities here to the actual show, but obviously plenty of differences as well. I thought this led to a pretty interesting outcome here. So yeah, I mean that'll do it for this one. I'll probably do one for future seasons of the show. I enjoyed doing this. And be sure to like and subscribe to the channel if you enjoy this content. But for now, that is the video. See ya.